the property lane.
Dear viewers, we are gonna chat today about investing in the diaspora. You know, our Ugandans abroad are used to being called Ugandans in the diaspora. But this time around, we are changing things a little bit. We are giving you an opportunity to invest outside of Uganda and no other place, but the place every Ugandan dreams to have, at least to step there. But imagine owning a property in the United States of America. How easy is it? How is it done? And Isaac will be showing us how. You know, Isaac, the last time we met, you, first of all, knowing that you're also a realtor in the United States, I am a realtor myself, and I just love working with realtors. But the interesting bit was when you told me that it's so easy to own a house or own a property, whatever property you want to own in the United States of America. Which state are you from?
I'm from actual Massachusetts. Most people call it Boston, but Boston is a city.
I also prefer Boston.
Call it Boston.
The tongue twister. Yeah. So what do you do in Boston?
So I'm a realtor. I'm a licensed, I need to mention that because it's very important. Not everyone is a realtor. I'm a licensed real estate agent, and that's the business I do. And I also do investing in real estate over in US.
Do you also own property in the US?
Yes, I do.
Have you helped Ugandans own property over there?
Sure, yeah, so many of them.
Dear viewers, if you want to be a realtor, like Isaac and myself, now it's been made easy with the signing of the bilateral agreement with the National Association of Realtors. It's so easy for one to become a realtor. Just be a member of Area Uganda, do a few courses that are by the National Association of Realtors, mostly the CIPS Institute, and you will be ready to become a realtor like us. But as we sit down and chat about owning property, you said you're a licensed real estate agent.
Right.
Yeah, last time we had a brief on what it means, but for those joining us for the first time, what does it mean to be a licensed real estate agent?
So a little bit different from how it works right here. Everyone is a broker, everyone is an agent in the United States. You have to be a licensed agent, which means you must have met some kind of requirements for you to be one, and one of them is education. You must have gone through some education process. You have to do the state exams, and after you do the state exams, then you qualify to be a licensed real estate agent, and that's when you start operating as a broker or an agent.
How easy is it to get a house? First of all, as a legally documented immigrant, how easy is it to own a property in the United States? There are some brothers and sisters out there who may not know.
Right. And I think first I need to make it clear that I think I've had this question a lot. People asking me, do you have to be a citizen to own a property in the United States?
I was coming to that.
Coming to that. But yeah, so when you mentioned legally, it sounds like someone has to be documented or whatever, but you don't really have to be a citizen to own a property in the United States. Anybody can, and any Ugandan who is right here, as long as they are financially stable, they can own a property in real estate in the United States. The only difference comes when you want to get a mortgage.
Okay.
That's when you need to be documented over there. That's when you need to be legal in the United States. But if you have your cash, it's very, very important that you know that anyone can own a property in the United States.
Okay, so could you take us through that process? Starting with people living in the Ugandans who are living in the United States. how can they acquire property? What do they need to know to buy a house?
Thank you. That's a good question. So first of all, if you're Ugandan and you want to get a property in the United States, there are some requirements that you have to meet. One, if you're getting a loan and you're getting a mortgage, those are the requirements that I'm going to talk about. But if you have your cash, it's very, very easy to do so. All you need is to reach out to one of the realtors like me, and we take you through the process. Now, for people who are getting loans, who are getting a mortgage, that's the kind of difference that we have.
Okay.
One, you need to be legally working in the United States.
Okay.
And at least you must have worked for the last 2 years. Or you have been consistently in employment for at least 2 years. That is the first step, because any other requirements that we need from you rotates around the process, you working for 2 years.
What does you working mean? Does it mean now you have an NSSF number and you can be traced and whatnot?
Yes, it's a Social Security number. Anybody who works in America must have a Social Security number.
Okay.
And that's number one thing that they need to have. And I think if you're not having papers yet, I would say, but you have, like they call it employment authorization. People have employment authorization and they can use that to start working. You can get a house too. So it's not just those who are just residents, green cards and citizens. Even if you have an employment authorization card, you qualify to get a mortgage. So that's the number one thing people need to know before we start on anything else.
How about for a Ugandan who is living in Uganda and doesn't even intend to go to the US, but just wants to have their money making more money, and they want to invest in real estate, and they want to use that house once in a while? Yes.
So I have been on some platforms in Uganda where I've seen people selling properties here, just land, 700 million, 900 million, 500 million. If you are that kind of person and you have that money, you can buy a house in US.
Of 500 million Uganda shillings?
Well, we translate it into dollars, but if you can pay 500 million Uganda shillings, if you can pay 600 million Uganda shillings plus, you can own a house in US. It depends on which state. There are states that can sell condominiums at just 100,000. There are states
which is like 370
almost
million.
400 million, something like that. And there are states that can sell it at 200,000, which is almost, is it about 700 million, something like that. So if you can buy the house here, the property here and the land, then you can own a property in the United States. All you need is cash and working with a realtor like us to take you through the process.
Wow. So they don't need any documentation from me. They don't need a passport. They don't need my mother's ID and my father's ID.
Well, they might need IDs for Uganda, just to be sure that
like
the person we are working with belongs somewhere. Is not anywhere in the Mars or something like that. But the most important thing is, in America we work with experts.
Okay.
You don't actually have to be there. We work with experts to do the transactions.
How do I trust that my money is going where it should be going? You know, Ugandans have trust issues. And when it comes to real estate, it's escalated somehow. And when you say you're buying abroad now, that is like 4 times insecurity. So how can we
I don't know if I can tell you how you can trust someone with your money, but what I can tell you that we don't move with cash. In United States. Well, I'm not talking of the $100. When we are talking of transactions that deal with 100,000s plus, people do stuff online.
Okay. But we've heard of online fraud. And fact is
we do that. Like I also told you that we work with experts.
Okay.
You have to have a lawyer, an attorney over there that represents you, and the seller also has to have one. So the process of selling a property, your transactions and your money goes through lawyers.
Some sort of escrow account.
Yes, they keep all the money in escrow account until the time of closing. That's when your money is released after all the deductions have been made, and the money will be released to the right person. And when it is released, then you get to be informed that you own record, and now you own a property in the United States.
How do I know that now I do own a property?
So in United
do they send me some email documents like here we give titles? What do you get?
One, in the United States, the deeds are public.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to know that someone owns a property and I know your address, I just have to go to the public website and I just type in your name and everything else. I will see that you own a property because everything is public. But on top, to answer the question, yes, they send you an email, and if you need hard copies of the documents of the deed and everything, they can send those to you by mail.
And if I lose them?
You still have, the record is still in the system. You actually, most of us, I own a property, not just one, me and my wife, but I don't have a title for it, just like we do here. I don't have a deed for it.
Like you don't have a hard copy?
I don't have a hard copy of anything, but everything is in the system. Yes.
Yeah, so after you've gone through the process, take us through the transaction process, if you can, briefly. What happens if now I call and I'm like, Isaac, I want to own a property in Boston or California, and California is on fire. Can I still own a property there? Yes, if I want to own a property, how would you advise me? I've called you and I say I have $150,000. I want to buy a property in the United States. Take us through that process.
So now, the processes are two different processes. The process of someone getting a loan in the United States is very different from someone paying cash.
Okay.
So if you want me to start with one, I can do that.
Start with one and take us through the
yeah, so first, because most people that I've worked with have actually gotten mortgages.
Okay.
There are very few people that have used their cash. That's the most important process.
Mortgages here, mortgages
in
there.
the United States. Now, I'm talking about people who reside in US.
Okay.
Because if you are here, you are not likely to get a loan from US.
Maybe from here.
Maybe from here, and the process, you'll tell us the process here. Okay. I know the process over in US because that's what I've been doing all along. So there are two things they qualify people to get mortgages. One, they qualify the house, the property you are intending to purchase, and two, they qualify the person.
Okay.
Now, when they qualify the person, they look at three items.
Okay.
Your income, they look at your credit, and the capacity.
Okay.
So when they qualify the property, basically they look at the worthiness of the property vis-a-vis the money you are paying. Okay. So when they qualify the person, like for the income, like I told you, they must see that you have been working consistently at least for the last 2 years. That's the number one thing. All the documents we are going to ask from you, they must be correlating to the fact that you have been working for the last 2 years. Okay. We will need the W-2s. I think the US people know what that means. Okay. We will need the pay stubs, and the W-2s are for 2 years. We'll need the tax return documents, which is also for 2 years. So all those are the things they are looking at to see if you actually qualify. Just like in Uganda here, if they are to give you a loan, they have to make sure that you have the capacity to pay. Okay. And the income is what they assess to tell that you actually can pay. Okay. Then the other factor of the capacity, well, it relates to the income, but also you as a person, they are looking at the documentations you have. Are you a resident in the United States, or you just have the authorization? Are you actually someone who is able to pay?
Dear viewers, we are taking a very brief break. By the way, we are here in one of the properties that are up for Airbnb. Still a work in progress, but soon coming up. For those who stay along Entebbe Road, you'll be looking out for this property. But for now, we are taking a short break, and when we come back, he's going to tell us, as a Ugandan living in Uganda, what do you need to own a property in the United States? What's the process like? And then the benefits and also the cons, you know, the pros and cons of owning a property in the United States of America. For now, see you shortly. Welcome back from that very brief break. We are talking dollars today. I'm not just talking dollars, but we want you to also go to the go abroad, not just to Kubache, but to own assets, to buy property. It is possible. So you were telling us, you took us through those Ugandans who are living in the United States and may not know. Some have just probably stay there for 2-3 years, and you're saying 2 years one can own property, and actually one can even get a mortgage. What is the percentage
Of
mortgage?
So the mortgage really has no percentage. Basically, they are looking at your income to determine how much you qualify for.
I mean, what's the rate, the interest rate?
The interest rate is right now is high. And it's like 6.5.
Oh,
now in
do you know how
Uganda.
high it is back home here? It's double digit.
It's been going up, coming a little bit down and going up all the time. But at some point during COVID, we had actually 2.5 rate.
Before I moved to the Ugandan owning a property in the United States, if I had bought a house in California, what would happen to my investment?
So one thing I know, I have had that experience, by the way.
Okay.
If I have to tell you, I have me and my wife, we bought a property before, and within 5 months it caught fire. But America has insurance. We insure properties.
Okay.
So everyone that has had their house on fire, they are going to be compensated because they are insured.
Okay.
There is no way you can own a property with no insurance, home insurance. So they are safe. The only challenge they have is the personal properties they lost. Yeah, so you have...
And the attachment
you have
to the
attachment
homes.
to the picture, you have attachment to some kind of items that you bought. Those are the kind of challenges they have. And the fact that you've been living in a certain location, you wanted it, you don't want to move to another location, that kind of feeling. But the fact of you getting compensated is definite.
In other words, you're telling us that my investment is safe.
It's safe.
No matter what happens, no hurricane, no tsunami can
As
wipe
long as you
it
have
out.
home insurance, it is safe.
Home insurance. Take us a little bit about that. You know, we don't have so many Ugandans here doing home insurance.
Right.
Probably we could start encouraging people.
So home insurance is provided by private entities that have insurance companies, and of course it's negotiable. You can always go anywhere and source for your whatever and get the home insurance. But when you have it, they cover a certain percentage if your property...
Not the whole amount.
Well, they give you a percentage.
Of what? Of the money I invested in, or of the current value of the property?
So we talk of the coverage. In terms of coverage, sometimes they can tell you your property, from what I see, the value of the property and the location where it is, we can cover up to 600,000.
Okay.
Now, if you bought that property at 500, they are covering up to 600,000. If you bought it at 1 million, they don't really look at the purchase price. They
look at what they can handle.
How the companies do that, but they just will tell you, do the numbers, and they tell you that we compensate up to this much. And you look at it, you compare other people,
Other providers.
yeah, and you see whether it's worth for you to take. Whoever gives you the best deal is the person you take. But the bottom line is your property is secure when there is any problem.
Yeah, so you were telling us for Ugandan it's very simple to own property. All you need is money and being an outstanding citizen.
Yes, so I think the most important thing a Ugandan needs to do is to work with an expert. All that's all you need to do. Have
Say
your
it, work
cash.
with a realtor.
Well, we are experts too. We are professionals. So get your cash and find a realtor. Everything will be sorted. They'll give you. You have all the details of how you can go through the process. Yeah.
What are the fears?
But before that, I want to tell you. I was telling people that you can own a property in the United States. Most states you can. There are states that ban foreigners owning properties.
Oh.
I don't have a list of all of them off head, but I know Iowa is one of those. And so you can do some Google and search which other states.
That's where you need an expert.
Yeah, that's where you need an expert. But most states, people buy properties regardless of which country they come from and where they are.
And to emphasize the point, Isaac, there are Ugandans who don't want to go and live abroad.
Right.
They just want to own investments, have that money coming in without having to live there. They can visit once in a while and come back. Those are the Ugandans I'm talking about, because I know there are those who just want to go there. But what are the advantages of investing?
That's the very important question that we need to talk about. So we have invested somehow here and in the United States. We have seen the difference. One, the return of investment is quicker.
Now you're talking.
The return of investment is very quicker.
How quick? I demonstrate.
If I can give you the numbers, now we have different types of properties that we can own in the United States. You can own a single family property. That's a house where someone wants to live with his family. You can own a multi-family property, like two family, like it could be you buy and you can rent out 2 units.
Is it an equivalent of what we call the rentals here?
The rentals maybe, yeah. So you can have 2 family, 3 family, 4 family. It's called a multi-family generally.
Okay.
Now, if you bought a multi-family property in the United States, I recently was giving a calculation to someone who came to me, and I was giving them an example of one of the property that actually he spent money on, and one of the property we spent money on in US is in Uganda, and I was telling him the property that he has is in a good location. I think this will be a good example to show people how the return of investment works. It's in a good location, somewhere around the suburbs of Kampala. He spent around 600 million, and he said three stories.
Okay.
I equated that to the 3-story property, which is a multi-family in US. He spent 600 million Uganda shillings to build that whatever. That does not include the what?
The land.
The land that he bought.
Okay. So roughly he spent like 150,000.
And someone who buys who gets the same property over in the United States is not going to use his cash. He's using the down payment, which is about 3.5%.
The mortgage.
So you've invested all your cash, the 600 million, and he has invested just about 3.5. Okay, let's say 5%. If I buy a property of 500,000 US dollars, all I have to pay is about 30,000. That includes closing costs and down payment.
And that is because you're getting a mortgage?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's about 120 million Uganda shillings, where you have spent 600 million Uganda shillings. So that property, if you rent it out, all the 3 units, you can make not less than 6,000, because each unit, per unit, I mean per the total.
Per what? Per month? Per week?
Per month.
Okay,
so
per
each
month.
unit gives you around $2,000. Because that is now expensive.
Okay.
$2,000, 3 units, that is 6,000. Calculate that in a year.
It comes to roughly?
Maybe 42 or something. Remember, you invested 30,000.
So in 1 year, you've already...
your return in just less than a year, about 8 months. Someone who has bought who is building a property here, the same kind of property in a good suburb, maybe Nankulabi or something, It needs about, now I'm talking about the 600 million.
Yeah.
It's gonna need about 13 to 14 years to get that money back.
And for you, when do you get your 500 back, 500,000 back?
In less than 7 years. You just do the numbers, so you get.
Is it so guaranteed, the rent?
The rent is US. The rent is guaranteed because the laws are there. I am not saying people don't violate the laws; they do, but at least you are sure that if someone does not pay, you have where to go. You go to court and force those people, that person, to pay your rent before they move out. But also, like I told you, we work with professionals and experts. We have property managers there. If you don't want the hassle, you're Ugandan here, you've bought your property over there, you don't want the hassle of calling tenants, do whatever you have to do, work with a property manager.
Oh, even in Uganda, we do have good property managers.
So property manager will be sending you the money to your account every month, every time you need it, and you're good to go.
What other advantages are there in owning, apart from the return on investment and the time of getting back your money being so short?
Well, that's very important.
That's the key thing about investment. Anyway.
If you invest in real estate, you want to make sure that you get your returns as quick as possible. But one other
also the other thing is you've mentioned how secure your investment is.
Would be. But one other most important thing is the equity.
Okay.
So equity is, if we can explain to people, equity is some kind of difference you get. Maybe you have a loan, you invested a property, maybe 500,000. After maybe 5 years, and you want to sell the property, you sell 700,000. So the difference is the equity.
Real estate keeps growing, I think, in any part of the world.
In US, there is nothing that is good as getting equity.
Wow.
Actually, some people don't even save money on account. All they have to do is buy a property and just give it 10 years. You can get more than or equal to what you bought it for.
Wow.
Yeah. In COVID, we had people who bought properties for 300,000, and after 2 years, they sold it for 500,000 in just about 2 years. I'm talking of dollars. So the equity is really, really, really good over there. I don't know about here. You tell me how.
Okay,
how good equity
you have
is,
sung praises for owning property in the United States. What are the challenges?
Well, the challenges is I'm talking of a Ugandan who is not a citizen over there. So the challenge is you being sure, having that confidence that you'll get what you want to get from your property. I'm just assuring you that you can and you will, but sometimes people are not very sure when they invest. And like the question you asked is very important. Am I sure that my money is safe? Those are some of the challenges someone may have before they make a decision to do the investment over there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm here to tell you it is more safer than buying a land here, especially if you're using the wrong realtors, not realtors. Realtors are right. Wrong brokers.
No, if you're not allowed to use the word broker, because broker means a different thing in the United States.
Yeah.
Here you can say broker.
Yeah. So if you use the wrong whatever she said, you're actually very sure that you might lose it. It's more safer, by the way, over there than you would to invest here.
But we continue to bring you more and more interesting episodes on the property lane. Just stay tuned every Saturday 7:30 p.m. and a repeat on Monday at 11 a.m. on UBC TV. See you next time.
The Property Lane.